Okay, I'm going to share the screen. So actually today's session is MWAA. Okay, it's a managed workflow service, right? Airflow. Okay, so we'll configure the Lambda also. Okay, so I'll show step by step. Okay, so let's see. Okay. Okay, so first of all, like how to configure the Airflow. So first I give the brief intro about the Airflow. Okay, so that you guys can know about the Airflow, right? What is the purpose of the Airflow? So Airflow is workflow orchestration tool. Okay, so whenever I say like I want some scheduler, right? Workflow orchestration. Okay, so whenever I want station tool, okay. When I say like I want to schedule some job, okay, I want to ad hoc job or I want to run some automation things, okay. And Airflow can be used for the ETL also, ETL pipeline, okay. Like we can trigger different tasks and these tasks can be scheduled in a sequence, okay. And we can run parallelly task also. So there is a option there, right? Define the dependencies. So how we are defining the dependencies of the task. So in the same order, same manner, it will be executing the task, okay. So when we are starting the Airflow, first we need to we have to do manually the Airflow installation, right? So Airflow installation, either you can do on the Ubuntu. So there the predefined steps are there. I will share my previous video where I have done the local installation on Ubuntu. So we have to follow some installation steps are there, and then we can install the Airflow in our local. Okay. So when we are installing Airflow, so Airflow installation on Ubuntu. Okay. So this is a manual installation, right? So you can setting up your Airflow locally. So this is the all steps in the Ubuntu you can follow. So you can create a virtual environment, and there, right, you can create a Airflow folder, and this is completely same steps you can follow. And we have to create a DAX folder. So inside, once the Airflow is installed locally, then there is a DAX folder. What is this DAX folder? DAX folder is the set of tasks we are going to define in this one Python file, and that we keep it in the DAX folder. So DAX folder is a naming convention, and we are making its DAX folder for containing the our Airflow DAX. And Airflow DAX always is in the Python only, because the Python is a primary language for the defining the DAX. Okay. So when you are defining a DAX file, when you are creating a Python DAX file, you are keeping it in the DAX folder. I will show you, like we upload the file in the DAX folder and then we can execute our job. So Airflow has different components are there. Airflow has scheduler. Airflow has Airflow has a web server. Okay. So web server is giving a user interface, UI interface. Okay. And this user interface where we can do like scheduling the job. Okay. Scheduling job. We can do monitoring. Okay. Monitoring we can do of the job. So that is a user interface is there. This user interface, we can navigate it. Okay. And we can check errors, like any issues are in the job task. We can check it. Okay. And the next is a Airflow executor. So Airflow executor is actual component of the Airflow, which is executing your task, Okay. And what is a task? So task I will talk about. Task is basically a operator. Task is an operator. Just think about it. Suppose I have to run some Python task. Okay. Or I have to run some Spark task or Hive task. Okay. So for each one, there is one operator is there. When I say Python task, there is a Python operator. Okay. So operator is just a convention. Okay. But task is a type is Python, then Python operator. If your task is a Spark task, then they called it Spark submit operator. Spark submit operator. Okay. So Spark submit operator, you can create a type of task of Spark. When you say Hive, I can create a Hive operator. Okay. Scoop operator. scoop task, right? Scoop operator. You can create task with the scoop operator. Okay. And the most popular one is the bash because everything is run through the bash, right? Suppose I say I don't want to run directly Python operator. My Python script I can trigger from the bash. I can run my Spark submit operator. Two options are there. Either you can run directly that particular type of operator or bash is common to all. Suppose I want to say like I want to use a scoop import command. So scoop import command you can directly run with the bash. 5 queries you can run directly from the bash, right? You can trigger your HQL file. Okay, so that command you can run. Spark submit command you can run with the bash. Python command, Python operator, Python script you can run from the bash. Everything you can run from the bash because we are executing everything in the Linux environment, and Linux environment we are using the bash. Okay, so this is the most popular one and most widely used bash operator. So bash task we have the bash operator. Okay, so first we need to understand what are these operators there and how to write a DAG file. How to write DAG file. So DAG file is a Python file. It's a Python code. It's a Python code. There you define these operators, these tasks you define. And these tasks you have to define the dependencies also. Suppose I say I have one Python task, one Hive task, and one Spark task. I say like I have to execute first my Python task to push the data on the Kafka. Okay. And then I say I want to run a Spark job which is reading the data from the Kafka topic. Then I say once my data is in the Hadoop file system, then I want to load into the Hive table. So which task will come first? The Python task will come first. Okay. The Python operator task will call double greater than operator. Okay. This will have a dependency like Hive task, Spark task, Spark operator, then Hive operator. So these are the three tasks. These are the three tasks. It is showing first once Python operator task is completed, then only your Spark task operator will start. When your Spark task operator will complete it, then Hive task operator will come. But suppose you say like two Python function you want to run parallelly. So you can put it in the square bracket. Okay, so same thing. If you want to run something like two Python task is there. So one Python task, because these Python tasks are independent to each other. Okay, so I can run parallelly. So one Python task and second Python task. Okay, so this is this can be parallelly, can be run parallel. So these two can run parallel because independent to each other. There is no dependency on both Python tasks. Okay. So now how to use this one? If both are the Python task 1 and Python task 2. So this is the Python task 1 and this is the Python task 2. So I will be keeping it in the square bracket. Okay. I will say Python operator task 1. Okay. This is just structure combinations I'm telling, and Python operator task 2. Okay, so like this you will be running. Okay, so this is showing once these two tasks are completed, then your Spark operator task will start and then Hive operator task will start. Okay, so we have seen that Airflow server is there, scheduler is there, executor is there. So executor is again different types of executors are there. One is a sequential of there, okay, local is there, and Celery is there. Celery, and one is Kubernetes is there. Okay. So when I say local sequential, both are same, almost like sequential is like when your task is running sequentially. Okay, one task is completed, then another task is taken. Local is like you are not using a distributed order, right? Like single machine you are running, that is local, and Celery is distributed. Celery is distributed. Like your multi-node cluster is there. Your distributed multi-node cluster of Airflow. Okay. Because you're like a distributed environment you want to use. And Kubernetes is a very special kind of one. So there is a Kubernetes pod operators is there. Like you want to a specific Kubernetes task, like in the in the Kubernetes cluster you want to run, then you can use Kubernetes pod operator. Okay. So that type of executor is used. Okay. And another one is component is there. These are the three component, 1, 2, 3. And the fourth component is in the Airflow is metadata database. So metadata database, it is a default database like either SQL Alchemy is there. These are very small SQL database and either SQL Alchemy or Postgres. Okay. So whatever installation process, right, you are following. Okay. So it can be either of any database. Okay. It could be a SQL Alchemy or it can be a Postgres. But the purpose of this database is it is used to store the metadata about your job. It is used to store metadata about your jobs. So your jobs metadata, it will be stored. That is the purpose of this metadata database. This is internally used. We are not keeping it anything for our purpose. Okay. So when we start Airflow, right? So first, like if you want to practice in your local Ubuntu machine, so you can do this local installation and you can run a small Airflow job scheduler you can run. But when you are learning in the cloud, right? When you are learning the other cloud services, suppose I want to say I want to use Lambda, I want to use EMR, Kinesis, DynamoDB, all these services I want to use it and I want to use Airflow. So again, in cloud also, there are two options are there. Either you can install Airflow on the EC2 instance. You go to your EC2 instance, you install your EC2, you running your EC2 instance, and then you can set up Airflow there, the same which you done locally. Or the other way is Airflow has the managed service MWAA. So this managed service is managed by the AWS. So you don't need to worry about the infrastructure side. Okay. The scaling part. Okay. And logs, everything we can check it. We don't need to install anything. Okay. But this is a paid. Okay. Because it is chargeable and charges depend, right? Like, okay, if your instance is there, like how, like if it is continuously running, so definitely the charge will be there. Okay. So when we are starting the Airflow, we have to create an environment. So there is an option create environment. Okay, let me show you. Like yesterday, I created my one. So here it is. Okay, it is a region different. Okay, I created Ohio region. Okay, I was surprised. So Ohio region I created. So if I go to Ohio region, this is the North Virginia region. Okay, so if I go to Ohio region, and I go to here environment. So this is my yesterday one I created. So I created at 2 o'clock, and if I say like how much charge came, okay, if my cluster is keep running, okay. So you can see here in the billing sections. So in billing sections, if you go here, so here you can see the each service billing. Okay, so this is showing like how many services you're using. So here is the managed workflow, Airflow. Okay, so in this region, I got a charge for 10 hours charge, they charge me $5. Okay, so $2, right, approx charge they are charging. Okay, they're charging. Okay. So this is 0.49 per hour. Okay. I think this is a small environment charge. Like if your cluster is bigger, then the charge will be high. Okay. So depending on the which in cluster environment like you are using, how what is the size of the node which you are going to use. So if you see in my this Airflow environment, like now what instance I'm using. Okay. So type is a celery executor is there. This is the maximum 2 worker count. Okay, this is a web server count. So this is the count things are there. Okay. So I'm going to create another one more in another region I create. Okay, Mumbai region. So I show you the step how to start Airflow. So when you are creating a new environment, so here, when you are creating a new environment, so this is a this environment name you can change. Okay, you can say my Airflow lab. Okay, and this is the latest version is taking, and it needs the three folders, but one is mandatory. The DAX folder is mandatory, but two other folders, right, in the S3 bucket, not mandatory, right? Plugins and requirement file. Okay, requirement files is used, right? Suppose some because Airflow is not default giving every plugins, right? So we need installations, right? Some Python is related module libraries we have to install. So we put it in this requirement.txt file, okay? And plugins, like some additional plugins I want to add, which is not by default there. So we have to do, like MySQL is there, right? Spark is not there. So Spark submit operator you want to use, you have to add some Spark plugin. Okay. So, but DAG folder is mandatory. I told you the DAGs, the naming convention is DAGs. So we have to choose some S3 bucket where we have to create this DAG folder. Okay. So we have to, okay. So I create a one S3 bucket. So same region you create a bucket, in which region you are creating a MWA bucket. Okay, so simple bucket I'm going to create, and one DAX folder I will create. So inside this Airflow Lab 3, I will go here and create DAX folder. Okay, so I'll create a DAX folder. Just give me 1 minute. Okay, so I created this DAX folder. I will upload my Python DAX file here. Okay. Okay. Now I will, when I'm going to create an environment, I will choose my S3 bucket. Okay. So this is my S3 bucket, and DAX folder. You have to. Okay, this is asking S3 bucket only. Okay. So when I gave the S3 bucket, next is it is asking to me the DAX folder. So I will be choosing the DAX folder. Yeah. So I will choose the DAX folder. Okay. And the rest other things are optional. Okay. I told you, like, if you have plugin, if you have requirement.txt, so later also we can upload it. Okay. Okay. So next is, here we have to choose VPC. Okay. So we have to either we create a new VPC, okay, for specific to our Airflow, and this one we have to keep public. So create MW VPC. Okay. So so here when we are creating the VPC, so it is taking automatically this all public private subnets things, and the role it will create with some, if you give a specific name it will create, otherwise, because this role is specifically to run your Airflow. Okay, because IAM role definitely needed. for running any particular service. Okay. And if you want to use S3 to read file using your Airflow and write data to any other storage, right? DynamoDB. So all those specific services role you have to add. You have to add the policies. You have to add the policies in that role. So this role will be created by, okay, we are not giving any sample role I can give. Okay, leave it this. Create a stack. So this will be using a cloud formation. So cloud formation way, like it will create a stack, right? All the necessary part of the Airflow VPC. Like VPC has the subnet, like route table, okay, internet gateway, NAT gateways. So it entire stack it will create. Manually is the option is there. You can create a VPC manually, and then you can choose the VPC. Okay. So once our this VPC stack is created, I will be able to see my VPC over here. Okay. And then I can choose that VPC. And so here this security group things, right? You can choose already existing security group or it will create the new one. Okay. And this is the management. So here is a instance, which instance you want to use. Okay. So if you want to keep it small, small is fine. This is a giving one scheduler, one core CPU, one core CPU for worker and one core CPU for the web server. Okay. So this is the environment and maximum count. Okay. I don't keep it 10 to count I'm giving. Okay. And these are the, like when you are debugging, right, in the Airflow, you need different logs, right? So whenever you want to monitor any log, so Airflow web server log, scheduler logs, worker logs, and DAG processing logs. Okay. And label, you can set the label, like what label. These are the default label. I'm not doing anything. And this is a role it will create a new role. So this role is creating. Okay. If you want to change the name of the role, you can change here. Okay. So this is the role is taking. So we'll wait here like once VPC is created because it takes 15 to 20 minutes. Okay. So I will show you once the steps and I will show you my existing Airflow environment, how to deploy the job. Okay. So far clear, this is the one. Because here you are following the AWS steps. Okay. And it's a managed service, right? So here is the user interface environment, like steps are there. So we have to follow this all steps and then finally it will create a, like it will create a cluster. Okay. And once the cluster is ready, we can open the user interface. So user interface look like if we see my existing one, uh, okay, my Ohio region, it was there. So if I go to my environment, so here is the UI is there. If you click at this, so it will open the Airflow. You don't need to log in anything because your Airflow and this is the job is already running, which I already created. Okay. So same type, like we will create a DAG and this DAG file will appear here, the DAG list. When you click here DAG, so like it's a default DAG, right? It's coming like when I added this DAG file in our DAX folder. Okay, when I upload it in that S3 bucket. Okay, so same thing we will do in that environment, but it will take time. So meanwhile, I'll show here. Okay. Okay, so this all completed. So let's see VPC came or not. Okay, this VPC came and I'm selecting this VPC, MWA environment VPC. Select this VPC, automatically it came subnet. Okay, but just remember here, use this public network. Okay, otherwise you can't access it. Okay, so VPC and subnet, this all things. And then next is a review. Okay, it's just review, right? What is your S3 bucket? What is a DAG folder in S3 bucket? This is the network configuration is there. You are using a VPC environment, right? Okay, and this is like a size of the instance you are using for your Airflow. Okay, and this is the monitoring part, like all the logs. like Airflow task log, web server log, DAG processing log, worker logs, right? And this is all we keep it default, right? I haven't used anything like just encryption. If you want to keep it encryption, tags, these are all common things in across the services. So I want to make it my like Airflow environment tags, right? I can define the tag. The purpose of tag is someone can find and understand what is the purpose of creating this environment. So it is just for reference purpose. And when we create environment here, so our Airflow environment will take 10 to 15 to 20 minutes it will take. Okay, 15 to 20 minutes it will take, and then it will make it environment ready. So you will see once environment is ready, it will come here. Okay. Why it is not showing here starting? I clicked it on the create environment, right? Choose again. Okay, it's VPC. Okay, public. Okay. Okay, small. I clicked on this create environment. Okay. Yeah, I should wait for some time because if I okay, now it's came. So it takes 20 to 30 minutes. Okay. So now if I check it my environment, now it will be showing because it started. Okay, it is now creating and it will be activate. Okay. So let's go with my existing one. So this is I showed you how to create an environment. Okay. So once you have already, this is my Mumbai region one. So, okay, if I go to my, yeah. So this is my Airflow environment. So first of all, okay, so another thing we have to do Lambda. Okay, so how to do configure Lambda? Because we have to, like, we have to create some data sets. Okay. And this data set is a order data set and customer, right? So this is some fake data we are generating. Okay. So when we are going to the Lambda, so I have to create a Lambda function. Okay. So this is I created yesterday Lambda function. This one Lambda function I created, but this Lambda function we have to create a type of function. So what is the use of the function type? Like if you want to call this Lambda function as a REST API call, you can call as a REST API. Okay. Okay. So we can create Lambda function. Okay. So first we are going to create a Lambda function. So if you don't have the role, okay, how to create a role? So generally, if we go to the IAM and IAM, we can create a role. Okay, I have already role is there. This is the role, Lambda role one. So if I want to show you this role permissions, so this role is a Lambda role, right? Like for like I'm using a Lambda. There are many other policies are there, but mainly like I need for this example for S3. Okay. So I want to read the file. Okay, so S3 full access is there. Okay, S3 full access. So this is the Lambda role one, okay, that I created, and I'm using this Lambda role one here. And here, one additional configuration is there. Either you can enable the function URL here, or later you can do also. Okay, so if you want to enable the function URL, so here is you want to keep it some IAM permission. I don't want to keep it because when the function URL is there, I want to keep it none, and then I will be going to create this function. So my Lambda function will be created. So this is the function URL is there. Okay, if I hit this function URL, my default code is coming, right? When I hit as a HTTP call is there, then my the default, the logic, like whatever is there. Okay, if I print something here, so it will change. Okay, so whenever you change anything here, you have to deploy. Okay, and then so testing two ways you can do. Either testing you can do with the event, you can create some event, and function URL. What is the advantage of the function URL? Like you can run on the HTTP browser also. Okay, and you can trigger this function URL from the REST call, right? Suppose here I want to trigger Lambda function URL, like call command you can trigger, and you can see the output. Okay, so I have configured my AWS configure here. So AWS configure, because I'm local from machine I'm doing. So AWS configure. So AWS configure access key secret key. My access key secret key already set. Okay. So now I can see my S3 bucket ls. Okay. So I can check it, my all the bucket. And now this same function URL, I want to call it from my curl command. Okay. So from any EC2 machine also you can call, or you can call from the local machines. Okay. But you need to configure AWS configure. Okay. Here. Okay, so now how to call the function URL, REST call. So I have to change the function URL name. Okay, so when I'm just, suppose you want to call some Lambda function which is taking a parameter. Suppose length and width is there. So even you can pass the parameter also. You can pass the parameter. If it is not taking any parameter, so you can simply change the URL here, and it will give you the, because default is a get method. You can call even the post method, put method, okay? But here is the get call, right? I want to just get the data from the Lambda, okay? So what I am doing here, I will take my function URL, okay? So this one I will be changing here, okay? Okay, so I change this, and I will be trigger from my local machine. Okay. So you can see the same output is coming here. Okay. So whatever JSON response you can see in the browser, same JSON. So it is different way of calling your Lambda. Okay. Either you can trigger, you can configure event locally. So that is also one possible way, right? I can configure the test event here. So in this Lambda, if I go click here, and I can, this test event, I can test with that. Okay. So I can create a new event. So it is executing. It is coming hello Lambda 1 1. Okay. So either way, like this is for testing purpose. Okay. So when we go to the code of the Lambda, okay. So here I have to define some function code I want to define. Okay. So I have already code there. This one. So this is a Faker API is using. Okay, the one more thing is needed by using this Faker API is the Python library. And for this, we need some layer. We have to create a layer in Lambda. I already discussed about the layers. So what is a layer? Okay. So when I want to use this code, so I can run, but it will be saying module not found. If I copy this code, I paste it here. Okay. I replace it. And now when I'm just going to trigger, right, my code, deploy it. Okay. Now I'm going to trigger this code. So here it's not able to show error completely because it is just server error is coming back, right? As a HTTP response, it's internal server error. It's a 500 error, okay? But when I want to see the actual, so I have to go to monitor here. So I can check it here, CloudWatch log. Okay, so when you come to the CloudWatch, so can you see here it is coming? No module name faker. Okay. So what is a way, right? How can I include the library? Because Python library you cannot directly install in Lambda, right? So Lambda supports layer. Lambda supports layer. So you have to check here layer. So first you have to create a layer. Okay. So how to create a layer? You go to function here. Okay. Here in the Lambda here, layers. So here is the option. Yesterday I created a one layer and the layer code you should have. Okay, so let me show you the layer code. Like you should have already library zip file you should have. Okay, so when you go to like Lambda layer, so this is a layer zip file. Okay, I show you what inside this layer zip. Okay, so you have to prepare one Lambda layer zip file. Okay, so there is a steps are there for this creating a layer. Okay, so I found in the ChatGPT those steps. So, okay. So when you are creating a layer, so first this is the hierarchy of the layer. Whatever your layer name is there, inside that the Python folder is lib folder, Python 3.x and site packages. Inside that you should have, suppose I want to do pandas or anything, right? So you put it that folder, okay, that particular folder libraries, okay, and then you zip it, then you make it a one zip and then you can upload as a create layer option and then upload that zip and choose appropriate version, right? What is the version of that layer you are going to create? The same version you choose here. Otherwise, it will be mismatch and it will not be able to add properly in your layers. Okay. And then publish the layer. And after that, you have an option add layer and use custom layer. Then you can choose your layer. It will be showing in the drop down. Okay. So this Python layer, if I show you this layer, so this Python folder, lib folder, and Python 3.9 site packages. So this is Faker library is there. There are many more libraries are there like Faker. So whatever library you want, just download that install version, okay, and that you keep it here, okay. Like what are the prerequisite for your other libraries also, so you can keep it here, okay. So once you keep it and then make it zip, okay, I already created zip. So I will upload it. So I will upload in the, so this is I have uploaded. Okay. So it's a very simple option. Create layer, you click. Here you give the name, my layer 2, my layer faker. Okay. Okay. And upload a zip file. So you upload a zip file. So this is the upload a zip file. I uploaded zip file and runtime environment. So you know right, this layer is a 3.9, right, version. So same environment version I should use. So Python 3.9 and create. Okay. Okay. So once the layer is created, then we come back to the Lambda, our Lambda function, because we have to add a layer. So what my Lambda is there. And here I will click on the layers. So add a layer. So here three options are there. These are the default AWS layers provided by the AWS. So these are the AWS, like Pandas is already part of that. Okay, so you don't need to do that. Pandas is there, NumPy is there. So some are already there. But if something you want to use your custom, so click on custom. And now my layer faker is coming. Okay. So I will choose this one, and whatever version is coming, so it is giving the version. Okay. And I will add this. So now my Lambda function is ready with additional libraries, okay, which I need. Okay. Now, when I'm running this code, like previously when I was running code, I was getting an error. Okay. So now I will test again this code. And what is this code? This code is basically creating some fake data, right? Customer data, order data, reviews data, right? So we are generating the data, and these are the endpoint path, right? Like if the path is slash customer, suppose in the my function URL, if I using slash customers here, so if I do slash customers, so I should get the customer data, right? When I say orders, I'm getting orders data. When I say reviews, I'm getting a reviews data. Okay. So I'm generating the data. I'm not reading from the S3, but if you want to read from the S3, same thing you can do with the S3. So finally, goal is like we need some data by using this Lambda. You can read some S3 file, JSON files you can read, and then you can get the data, but you have to write some Python logic code. Okay. And here is this Faker API is doing that thing. It's a dynamic code is generated, dynamic data is generated. Okay. Reviews. Okay. So these are reviews data. So these are the three data sets are there. So if you see here, when the customers orders and reviews, it is generating the data. Okay, it's taking a parameter. So functions are created. One def function is created with the customer, one for order, one for reviews. It's very, very simple. Just whatever the field you want to keep it, you create a list and add the record in a loop, right? So in the loop, it will generate the data like first name, last name, like it will generate automatically. So if you see here, customers, so here customer ID 0, first name is William. Next is some randomly it's taking first name this. Okay. So this is the Lambda part is done. Lambda is just generating the data. This Lambda is triggered and it will generate the data. Now how Airflow will be using this data. Okay. So when we go to the Airflow, so Airflow, like this is the user interface. So I do one thing, I delete this one, this tags. Okay, so this S3 bucket, so S3 bucket, the whatever S3 bucket I given, right? My, yeah. So this S3 bucket already have the DAX folder. So this is I uploaded dag.py. So let's see this code, dag.py. I already have this dag.py. So this dax.py, yeah. So this dag.py, what is doing? It is accessing the Airflow environment. Okay. So Airflow environment it is accessing like what is my local environment folder is there. So I'm just talking about this my environment path. Okay. And I have created two variable in Airflow because I want to suppose I don't want to make it hard code my S3 bucket and data source URL. So data source URL is your function URL, your Lambda function URL, which is your source of the data. Okay. Your source of the data for what? Your customers, orders, or reviews data, right? So I'm creating these two variables, and these two variables I created in with the name this in Airflow. So Airflow, we have these variables. So if you go to here, admin section there, and you go to the variables, and if you click here, I already created these two. So if you see, if I edit this, so you can see I have given the function URL path, but I don't need to give the customer or order or reviews. I have to just give the function URL path. This is my function URL path, which I can run. Okay. And this function URL path, and I'm giving a name is a data source URL. So when the Airflow DAG will see this data source URL, it will not give you the error. If I delete this one, I will get my DAG error. Okay. So if I suppose delete this one, I copy this, I will create again. So I will, so DAG this, if I, okay. So I deleted this. Now I'm triggering my DAG. So what will happen? So now if I go to my DAG, so DAG import error. So I'm getting the error here. It is not able to recognize data source URL. So data source URL, it is not recognizing. So it like now quickly it will be validating your DAG. Okay. Because anything is happening in the DAG, you don't need to restart server. In the local one, you have to restart your server and the scheduler. But in case of here, in case like manage one, you don't need to restart manually because there is no option to restart. Okay, here is it will auto refresh. Okay, so now if I go variable and plus icon, I create a data source URL. Okay, data source URL. So I save it. So now I created data source URL. Now I refresh this auto refresh. So okay, so now I'm going to trigger. So what are the functions are there in the DAG? Okay, let's understand the DAG because the how the DAG is working. Okay, so this DAG file, I create DAG file and upload in the my S3 bucket DAX folder. Okay, so here is the one method is there, fetch URL data. So I'm getting this S3, this reading some JSON file. Photo 3 fetch URL data. Okay, so this is customer.json. So this is customer.json file is there in S3. So get customer data. I'm getting with this. Okay. So this is not completely the data generation things we are doing with the faker, but the actual file is this customer. So this is the output file will come. In the data will come the JSON file. Okay, fetch URL. So whatever your function URL is there, this is the function URL, customer URL, and S3 bucket in it will be creating a data folder. Okay, so I just delete this data folder. So initially this data folder will not be there. Okay, so now I trigger my job. So now these every task, and you can see the log also and code also. If I want to see specific task code, so this is you can see entire DAG file you can see here. Okay, and if you want to see the log of the task, okay, so there is a specific task you click, and then you can check the logs. So here you can check the logs of your task, right? You can check here. So the green coding is like the task is successfully completed. This task is successfully completed. This task is successfully completed. So three tasks is for getting the data. Okay. So now if I check in the S3 bucket, okay, so this data folder is created. Okay, and the one, this is a 29. If you see the time 11:06. Okay, the time is 11:06. And these three are the data which is stored, right? And this is a combined JSON. Combined JSON is a JSON data. If I check with the uh, query with S3 select. run query. This is the data. So it is basically combining customer order and reviews. Okay. So some customer, they don't have order list and reviews list, but some customer can have order and reviews list. So here is a reviews list is there. Here is a order list is there. So depend, right? The customer is having order or not. Customer has reviews or not. Okay. So some customer has only orders, some customer has only reviews, or some customer has, generally the order is there, reviews will be there. Okay. Like for reviews, like order is must. Okay. Then only the reviews will be there. So here, if you see in this code, the first three tasks is, so this combined and enriched data tag has nested function is there, right? So get customer data, get order data, get review data. And this is the main function, analyze reviews, which is generating the reviews. So it is creating a new reviews file, okay, data slash reviews.json. And this file, how it is creating, right? So basically we are having the reviews, right? So here, this is the logic for the combined data. So when you are getting a three data, right? Customer data, order data, and reviews data. And then we are combining the data. So here we are dictionary we are creating, and then order. So we are checking if customer ID and order of customer ID is matching. So we will combine the data. Okay. Same like order ID is having the reviews, right? If order ID is matching with the like this combined data. So we, based on the order ID, we are matching with we are mapping with the customer and reviews. Okay. And finally, whatever data is generated in the dictionary form, this one, we are adding this list. So list of JSON dictionary is there. So this final data I'm writing into the, finally I'm writing into the, this JSON data I'm writing as a combined JSON. This is writing in the file. So file I'm uploading. So first is a download file and then upload file. So here, once the data is added, then these are the tasks. So I told you that whenever you have parallel task is there. So customer data it will fetch, reviews data it will fetch, order data it will fetch. And once all these data are fetched, then it will call the analyze review, which is taking your S3 bucket. And then it is calling the combined data. Combined data is basically merging the data, right? You have all the data, then you are merging the data. Okay, so finally, when your DAG is called, and this DAG is having these many action tasks. So if you go to here in Airflow DAG, if you see here, get customer data, get reviews data, get order data, and analyze reviews and combine data. Okay, so this Airflow DAG is like you can define the further more task you can define, or you can depend like what is your like processing, right? What is your like ingestion of the data, transformation of the data, and finally loading the data to the target. Okay, so you are writing the data to the S3 bucket. So this complete DAG code you can see here. Okay, and if you want to make it more dynamic, right, you can use environment variable. So this environment variable will help you. You don't need to change code manually and upload the file on S3 again, because this file is pointing in the S3, this DAG file. So whenever you want to do change, so every time you have to change if something is need to be changed. But if you want to make it more generic, so you can define the variable in the Airflow. So Airflow has many more things also there. Airflow has the connections. So like I want to like connect Hive and Scoop, right? Anything. So like I can create a new connection ID. Okay. Okay, so here are the other default, already some connections are there. Why it is not coming all down? It is not showing existing connections. So actually in the local one, it happened. Local one, when you are installing in Ubuntu, right? So it shows all the template. Okay. So like when you are creating, like you have to define manually here, like connection type. So here is these are the types our default is coming. But suppose something is not able to if you're not able to find, right? So you have to install library, right? You have to upload there's a plugin folder, right? Plugin zip you have to upload in S3. So Airflow will take it automatically from that S3 bucket and install that plugin. Okay. So and automatically then your plugin will come here. Here is MySQL is not coming, but I want to connect to the MySQL database. If I want to connect to Postgres, so if I want to connect Postgres, so I should have the Postgres database in my AWS cloud, and then I can define the host database. So Postgres I can create in RDS, and then I can use it here. Okay, then I can connect my Postgres. So suppose any task you want to do, like read data in Postgres and write data to S3 bucket. So two tasks you can create. One task which will be reading a data from the Postgres connection and which will read data from the Postgres database. And once your data you are reading from the Postgres, the next task you can write to the S3 file. So you have to write some Python logic, right? You have to call. Okay, so some Lambda code you can do. Okay, or like see whatever data you are fetching from the previous task, how it will be going to the next task. Okay, so XCOM is there in Airflow, like when you want to communicate the data from one task to another task, that is called XCOM. Okay, so XCOM is a feature in Airflow that is doing. Okay, so XCOM. There are many more things are in the Airflow. Airflow has dynamic DAG is there. Airflow has sensor operator. Okay, so there is a right. You want to communicate the data, right? You want to XCOM pull and push, right? So you can pull from one DAG to another DAG, or like you can push also. And there are many more things are there, right? Sensor operator. Sensor operator, like sometimes you want to check whether the file is arrived or not. So sensor operators we can use. So there are many more operator, and for cloud specific operator is there. Okay, we can use different operators, cloud operators like AWS related services operator like DynamoDB, S3, EC2. So all different types of operators are there. So when you want to check whether the file is arrived in your S3 bucket, or like, so you want to keep it sensor, so that is we use the. So we can keep it sensor. So sensor is basically poke, right? It will keep checking, right, whether the file is arrived or not. So sensor is having the file sensor. So this type of, like, just we have to provide a S3 path when we are using in cloud. When you are using local, so you have to give a local path. Okay. So you can define. So Airflow will keep checking the file sensor, right? File sensor will check. Time sensor is there, file sensor is there. Okay, some external task sensor. So there are many HTTP sensor like HTTP REST calls. So you want to get the data. Okay. So these are the different SQL sensor is there. Okay. Like when the table has the data came right in the table, right? So we can keep it a sensor for the table. Okay. Okay, so these are the things like, okay, let's see our Airflow is environment ready that. Okay, so this is my Mumbai South region one. Okay, so you guys can see here when I click it my environment. Let's see open Airflow UI. So you will see, I mean, right now I have not uploaded DAG file. Okay, so you won't see any DAG. Okay, so you see here is no DAG is coming, right? Because it's just like I started my Airflow cluster. Okay, UI. Okay, so now how the DAG will appear here. So in this S3 bucket, I go in this S3 bucket. So in this DAG folder, I will upload my DAG file. I will upload my DAG file. This is my DAG file. Upload it and it will automatic. So what error will come here? Can anyone tell me? What is what problem is there in the DAG? The DAG is now something is there which is not there in the Airflow. This new user. What problem will come once the DAG will appear here? The same bucket, right? South region, Mumbai. Okay. DAX.py. Hmm. So this one, see, error is coming in the tag because tag will not appear till error is not gone. What error? Because this parameters I didn't create it, right? S3 bucket and the function URL, data source. Okay. So I have to go to the variable and create a new variable. So key, I have to give data source URL, and data source URL is my function URL. Okay. So my Lambda, I have to. So this is my new Lambda code. Okay. So I'll take its function URL. I will copy this function URL. I will paste it here. Save it. And second one, my S3 bucket. So my S3 bucket variable name is S3 bucket. Okay. So this S3 bucket. This one plus icon. S3 bucket. So I will choose my S3 bucket. Right. So S3 bucket path, you can take it from here. Copy S3 URI. Copy paste it. I think only S3 bucket we have to give, not the S3 bucket. Okay. And then save it. Now go to the tag again. Wait for refresh. Okay, now tag is coming. So once you tag, we have to enable the tag. Okay. So when I enable the tag and inside we go the tag. Okay. So we can check whether it's a scheduled tag or it's a right manually trigger tag. So go to the code. So here in the code, so this is all Python functions are defined, right? So there is a tag here. So schedule interval is a monthly. Okay. So if you put it daily or hourly or like no, so we can have, okay, but we will run manually anytime. Okay. Even it is monthly, but we can run anytime. Okay. So manually you can trigger anytime. Okay. So when we want to trigger manually, so we have to click on the trigger and the execution will start here. Okay. If I want to check the logs of each task, so we can click here and there is a code option and log option. Okay. So we can check the log. So yellow means it is trying. It is okay. So these three tasks. So what the problem came here? Now we analyze because I already fixed it in my previous one. So that's the reason you couldn't get it. So you are getting a not authorized to perform S3. So whatever my Airflow role is there, that role doesn't have permission to write file in S3. So what I need to do in my role, my Airflow role, this role, I have to give my S3 permission so that it can be, it can write the, so add permission, attach policy, and S3 full access. S3 full access. We can add permission. And now, so Q, this gray color, this is Q, and then it will become light green and then green. Okay, so this is all three tasks are completed and data came in my S3 bucket. So when I check here, refresh I do, I'm able to the data folder. The data folder, my still my that file the combined JSON has not come. Okay, so combined JSON is still taking, this is taking time, right? Combined JSON. So when the combined JSON comes, so the Airflow job is completed. Okay. Still it has not come. So it still is okay. Now it's done. Now combined JSON file is going to create. Okay, now I check. Now it comes. So this combined JSON file you can use, like I told, the next further thing is Athena. So you already know in the glue I showed, right? If you have the file to create a metadata of the table, right? So I want to analyze, right? Okay, what is my customer data? What is my order data? What is my reviews data? And what is my combined JSON data, right? So this entire folder you can like crawl and create a table in Athena. Okay, so this is our next step. Okay, so that you can do. So when you want to create a glue crawler, so we go to glue. So when I go to the glue, the crawler, I want to create a crawler. Okay, so go to next. I give the data source, data folder. So specific data I want to do, or all the folder I want to do, but those are all other different schema. Okay, so crawl all the subfolders. Role we have to select. So if you have not created role, there is a create role, IAM role option is there, or you can choose the previous any role you have already there. Choose the database. Okay, if you have not, you can add a database. So when it is completed, we go to table. To change. The table is showing, but data. Whatever is done, so this is my different bucket. The old one, which is created a new one. Okay, so some data problem is coming. The data is not. So when I'm giving this customer JSON, yeah, it's taking correct only by the tables. So I use this role as the full access. Okay, I will see this one. Okay. Okay. So meanwhile, you guys try this Airflow. Okay. This and Lambda. Okay. Glue crawler I covered previously. Okay. So the process same. Only thing is I tried this time JSON, but it doesn't matter, right? Whether the file is JSON or CSV. Okay. Just say. Okay, I'll share the video and the data set and this all. I think I shared the files, but I will share it again. Okay. Mm. Okay, thank you.